Good afternoon, everyone. So we are going to have a very great session that we are going to speak on sustainable packaging. It's an interesting topic, always good to hear about, but the word sustainable comes with a lot of challenges. A glamorized word, and the glamorized industry. So let's make this session very interactive one. And I welcome all the panelists. Thanks for giving your valuable time for being for this particular session. And it's an honor that we have the people from the industry to speak about how they came up with the concept of being into sustainable packaging. What are the daily challenges they have been facing across, and what is the way forward that the industry should look at? So, at first, to begin with, let me introduce to our great panelists that we have on board today. We have Mr. Param Gandhi, the co-founder for FedMold with us. Welcome on stage, sir. We have Mr. Saurabh Goenka, the Director of Marketing for Pashupati Group. We have Mr. Aniket Bilai, the Manager Packaging Development for Pernod Ricard. And then we have Mr. Sanjit Kumar Jha from Resurgent India. So when we speak about the sustainable packaging comes, as I said, with a lot of challenges. But the good part is over here that the industry as a whole, the stakeholders as a whole, the global dynamics as a whole, for the first time in history, is supporting this word. Sustainable packaging is not something that we as in India per se are doing from today onwards. We have been doing this since last 50 years. We have always been an innovator. We have been doing great into R&D, and we have always developed a alternate system to the traditional systems. Sustainable is the name just given to glamorize the world and to bring a charm. Especially the financial people would be aware how to bring a charm in the market. So that's where the sustainable packaging actually came into picture. For the industry, for the brands, it has been a lot of legwork, I would say, especially the packaging and the quality managers who are there. For them, it's an uphill task. The next task comes into the finance team, basically when it comes to the sustainable packaging part of it. The third is the compliance part of it, when we speak about not only the government norms, but meeting the ESG requirements, the BRSR reports also, and the global requirements. And then comes the operational aspect of it. Operations is a very challenging task because feedstock is something that makes a lot of difference on the consistency. That's where the industry always speaks about on the consistency part of it. When I say about the recycling industry and when I say about the alternative to plastics, because consistency comes in both the aspect, a bigger challenge. The technology factor is something that drives the entire industry. Enough of me saying too much for 5 minutes. I think the industry experts should speak about it. And with this, we start this panel discussion. At first, before going right to the question answer and making it boring, first let's listen from the industry on what they think this next forward of the sustainable packaging is going to be. I'm going to join you guys over here. But from this, I request the panelists to one by one give across their thought process on what is sustainable packaging and how we have been driving across and how do you see your way forward in quick 2 minutes for all.
Yeah, thanks, Kunal. Great packaging, we can use it twice, thrice, or more than that, and that's what we look forward for. For us, more than that, sustainability, which is relevant to the consumer, is also important. So the consumer, the new consumer, the millennials or the Gen Zs can value what sustainability is, and they pay for it. That's what sustainability means for us. A lot of it also involves a lot of lightweighting, a lot of reducing of materials, using more sustainable materials or using recycled materials. So that's what sustainability means for us.
Now, this is a very interesting factor coming in. I really loved to put it across first to Aniket ji on speak about the sustainable part of it, because it's not just adopting something, but making an value proposition for the customers that who have actually been into an acceptable mode. Gone are the days that I'm sure you are referring to the gone are the days where we speak across. Excuse me, can we hold this for a moment, because the people are also getting disturbed. Sohail, can I request you for that? So that's a very valid point when it comes across that the brand is something who is looking for adoption of the sustainable packaging part of it. Now, if that's coming from the brand, I'm sure that's coming from a brand who has been on the premium segment of it, on the consumer side of it. For them, it's easy to say. And that's where the market categorization and the segmentization is going to be a critical aspect if you keep across the 4 checks of the boxes. So coming from Paranoid, it's going to be more because the adaptability of the pricing is definitely an open market for them, and you enjoy a premium over that in this segment. Now over to Mr. Gandhi.
Thanks. So my name is Param. I'm from FibMold. Just a quick introduction as to what we do. We basically make advanced packaging products using natural fibers. And I completely agree with you that I think India has truly actually taken a lead on sustainable packaging. When we compare it to both the regulations as well as where the industry is globally, not just in India, we see that Indian brands, consumers, the government, the industry is definitely a step ahead of most markets in the world. When we think of sustainability, I think the most logical way to look at it is whatever packaging we're using needs to either be fully recyclable in simple waste recycling streams. So it should not be, multi-layered packaging or things which are difficult to recycle. And I think recycling any material is the ideal way to kind of use and then reuse the resources that we have. And after recycling, it should be naturally compostable or naturally biodegradable within ambient conditions and not within specific industrial composting facilities or things like that. So we look at the holy grail of sustainable packaging as first fully and easily recyclable in existing recycling streams, whether it's plastic or paper or whatever it is. And after that, naturally compostable, so that in case it doesn't go back into the recycling stream, it shouldn't land up as marine plastics or shouldn't land up in landfills and things like that. So whatever we are doing at FibMold will follow these two fundamental, thesis of our view on sustainability is recyclability and then compostability.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Saurabh Goenka. I represent Pashupati Group. Just a short introduction. We are a recycler based in the north of India, and for us, I think sustainable packaging is becoming the new normal. The shift has come thanks to changing consumer preferences, environmental impacts, and collaborative efforts between all the stakeholders in the industry. Thanks.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's my privilege to be here among all of you. I would say, as an outsider to this industry, and I would be able to give some outside perspective of what we as a financial services participant expect from this industry, or what we are looking forward from this industry. So I represent Resurgent India Limited, which is an investment banking firm. We support corporates like you in terms of their financing requirements whenever you are setting up a project, whatever else you need, debt, equity, or even in terms of appraisal itself, we are part of that process to make sure that your projects are successful. That's one aspect of it, where I head the project appraisal business within Resurgent. I'm also a director on the Resurgent ESG Services Private Limited, which is a ESG rating provider. So we are a SEBI registered rating agency, ESG rating agency. And when I wear that hat and look at your industry, it is an important thing for me to be associated with, because everything related to the ESG, a lot of things are happening. And when we look at multiple goals that as a country or as a society that we are expecting from, whether it is zero emissions, whether it is managing environment, cutting down on pollution, the contribution of or the importance of the packaging industry is critical. I must say that. And when I look at packaging industry, a lot of it can be achieved quickly, in terms of the targets, because a lot of innovations are already being underway. So it's a lot of implementation issues which can be done, and to that extent, the achievements by the packaging industry can be quicker and faster. And that's the reason why I would, as an outsider, would prefer that more emphasis can be put on this industry, so that the achievements can be taken care of pretty quickly. Other industries will take some time. I mean, when I look at large manufacturing companies, they will take some time. A lot of developments has to take place before they can achieve that kind of zero emission targets. But packaging industry, I would assume this is much more easier, much more quickly that this can be achieved. And that's what I'm expecting to hear from all of you today. Thank you.
Great. In fact, a great introduction from all the panelists over here. They have given their perspectives coming in with the rich experience and the knowledge they have from their field and the daily activities they see across with a 360-degree approach on that part. Especially, I definitely have a great hopes from Mr. Sanjeev Kumar as well because of the factor that he comes from the two part of it. One is the advisory and the financial markets. The financial markets are the people who actually sense the moment in the market happening, and that's where they start with the advisory or the chipping in the huge money in the companies or at least consult them of it. So, Sanjay ji, I would like to come to you first on that part. When it comes to this sustainable packaging aspect, two factors comes into picture. One is the ESG because of the SEBI guidelines that when it's been made compulsory for the brands. The second factor comes into the financial investments that this industry is looking, not only from the Indian perspective, but global investment in India. I'm sure that has a backup plans coming in from the brands supporting this market, which is the reason the producers market is going to gain the momentum. What is the current status of the Indian market in the adoption of the sustainable packaging? And how do you see this growth happening in numbers if you have at all? But if not, then approximation.
Okay, so I think the first point is in terms of customer acceptance. So if I look at that perspective, I think in general, everybody has realized the importance of environment, protecting the environment, and the impact of any adverse impact of environmental issues are being faced by all of us. I mean, so, 10 years, 15 years down the line, it used to be that it will happen in the future. Today, I think over the last few years, all of us have witnessed the impact the climate change is having in our day-to-day life. So the customer acceptance is pretty much there. So, if today moment we say sustainable packaging, I think everybody is ready for it. Every customer, there are a lot of instances people, forgo those plastic issues, plastic carries, and pick up something which is much more sustainable product for them to carry on. So in terms of, so I would say consumer demand is clearly much there. The customers are willing to pay somewhat more as well. So that also is established. In terms of investment capacity, I think that is also there. A lot of funds from the foreign also, they are willing to put in money there, whatever we get the feel from the market. In terms of the growth potential, I think more than 10% kind of a growth potential for sustainable packaging is again, that is the number pretty well established that, maybe more than that, but at least 10% kind of a CAGR growth over the next 10 years is pretty much there. So, growth potential is there, customer acceptance is there. What is missing out is only in terms of coming up with some innovative products which can be cost effective and lesser burden to the customers, and it can be easily in a volume based, it can be provided in the marketplace. If I look at from the bankers' perspective, the financial system perspective, they are pretty much open. I think we have looked at a couple of projects recently on the packaging side. I think FIMOL was one of those. I think we have been associated with. So it just ended up that year I realized that we have done some work project for them. So so similarly, some of these projects we have already taken up, and the bank have been pretty much comfortable funding these sustainable packaging related projects. So market acceptance is pretty good. Customer acceptance is pretty good. A lot of it is at the corporates themselves that to come up with a good solution, good projects which they can put it up and execute. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In fact, this was the only reason that I started a question from the financial markets. Because of the sole reason that they have a perspective not only on that part of it, but a confidence is built in the industry that the financial markets are looking at a steady growth coming in. There is a performance from the sustainable packaging industry side. There is an adaptability from the consumer side. Now the pressure comes under the brand owners to adapt the offering of the industry. So with this, it's a really good sign that the financial markets are looking a positive way ahead for the sustainable packaging with a 10% decent growth coming in. The projects are already implemented. The only factor that the financial market demands is more of a innovation where companies like Fibmold, Pashupati has been doing a great work on that part, and they've been delivering a lot of services to the brands. Coming to that question, now I would like to go to Aniket on this part of it. Aniket, as an industry as a whole, when we speak about the packaging part of it, a lot of pressure has been from the international markets and from the Indian markets on adopting of the sustainable packaging. All three factors that majorly comes in. First is whether it's compulsory, that's a compliance part of it, yes or no. Second, is there a cost factor to it, yes or no. Third, can my consumer accept it? Now, I would be not sticking to Penoid per se for a perspective, but considering the entire people, the dignitaries on the stage which are there who have come down to listen on this industry perspective, how do you as a brand take this on three aspects for the sustainable industry, and what is the way forward they should look at?
So for the compliance, India is better in terms of the laws that are coming now. The EPR laws, EPR guidelines coming, they're good in terms of what the industry should look forward for. The only part I think I also and Sanjay also touched base upon it that we took a long time to approve recycled PET into food packaging. I think this should have happened a little earlier. That's one point in terms of compliance. I think it makes a push kind of a thing from the authorities, but somewhere industry also needs to come out and give a pull out of this compliance or some laws, because we are into those committees, we are advocating to ministries and everything. So we should give also a little pull from our side that what should be the new laws, what should be the new guidelines for us. That's one. Second question was the cost. Yes, India is a cost-sensitive market, you all know. And whenever we take decisions on sustainable packaging, cost makes a lot of difference for us. But as an industry, we have price points, right? And as a liquor industry, we play in all the segments. So we play in a mass segment where we have brands like Imperial Blue, Royal Stag, and we also play in a segment which is very costly, like Sanjay's brand, which are Blue Labels of the world, or our Chivas Regal of the world. So we put a costly packaging into brands which are more relevant for consumer. In a sense, consumer pays there for a sustainability. As I said earlier, if it is relevant for consumer to pay, it could go to the brands where it could, consumer can pay for it. And where it is less packaging, it's reduction of the cost, it could go for the mass market. And that also makes a lot of difference. If I change 5 gram weight in my bottle today, it saves tons of glass for me in a mass brand. But that doesn't happen in a premium brand. Third was consumer acceptance. So Sanjay covered this earlier, so I could cover it more. We are the pioneers in industry where we removed all the mono cartons from our brands. And it was a decision which we were kind of scared of, because as an industry, when you go on our shelf, we are a media dark market. We can't advertise to people on television, newspapers. So mono carton was one of our property where we used to advertise a lot of, we used to as a property to tell the consumer story about the brand, tell the consumer story about the product and all. But now that real estate is gone. Now we are only in the labels, and regulatory compliances put labels also a constraint to advertise more on labels or to tell more about the product. So it makes difficult. But when we took that decision, we were also a little skeptical about it. But I think the Indian consumers have grown a lot, and they have understood that decision, that this is more a decision from sustainability and less from a cost perspective. And everybody has accepted that. And our brands are doing well. Thank God for that. And we are doing well in the market even after removing the mono cartons. And I think both the companies, Diageo and Pernod, made a great effort in delivering that message to the consumer in a right way. I think that's about it.
It's an interesting insight coming in from this part from Aniket. If I have to summarize in a very precise word, it is more to do with the market segmentation part of it. When it comes to sustainable packaging, you segment your market, you segment your consumers, and accordingly the price factor is going to be a critical part of it, whether you go on mass or whether you add a value to the packaging. Now, yes, we as Anand Tattva have a 360-degree approach on the compliance part of it. We are a policy advocacy expert when it comes to EPR. We have been advocating it for more than 70 countries. Now, when we speak about the EPR terms, India's policy is one of the best policies that has been put in place. I would definitely agree to what Aniket has said, that this policy has been delayed, and hence the adoptance of the PET bottle-to-bottle recycling and bringing it back to the circular economy has been delayed. We have been delaying in the race part of it. But nevertheless, it's not a dead end that has been there. We are very much in time that we have come across. And this race is going further. The only factor is now going to be not whether this is going to work, but it's the volume games that is going to be. The scalability is going to be work because the pricing factor would be going with the economics of scale. Coming to that part of it, I would come to Mr. Gandhi on this part. Mr. Gandhi, when we speak about the innovative packaging, I see a product, honestly, my eyes are completely on this product since the time I have taken up this session. Because the products are catering to a different segment of the industry, which I would request Mr. Gandhi to also showcase to the people over here. It has an uniqueness on this. What make to give a direction to innovate these products? How is your customer experience? Innovation, is it something more than the challenging task than the packaging implementation or tech part of it? And how we are doing a collaborative approach for that?
Sure. So basically, since you mentioned about the products, I don't mind displaying it. So what we've done is we were working with a pharma company using injectables. So they were using these plastic trays earlier. And what we're looking to do is convert them into these fiber trays. So the performance and the functionality remains the same with the advantage that, it's fully recyclable as well as fully repulpable. Of course, naturally compostable. It uses no plastics or there's no barrier coating or things like that. Whatever additives there could be would be in the biomass itself, not externally applied. So similarly, we had done this project for a cosmetics brand, again, inserts without using plastics. This is a chocolate tray for a very famous chocolate brand in the country. The same pharma insert for injectables, this was made using bagasse pulp. And then we've also made the same using recycled pulp. So if the brand would really want to take sustainability to the next level, then we can also use recycled pulp to make a product which will again be recyclable as well as naturally compostable. So there are a bunch of products that we've tried to innovate. This is a work in development, but this is a noodle cup, an instant noodle cup. So trying to replace the plastic out of the noodle cups into a fiber-based solution. Still some steps to go for that product, but we're confident that over the next 12 to 18 months, we should be able to achieve that. And whenever we're devising products, we know that, one is there is regulation around, moving to more sustainable products, which is great. We also know that the new age consumers are hyper aware of sustainability and environmental impact of whatever we're doing. So that also helps us. But eventually, anything that is coming into the market has to be price competitive. So we've been working very hard on making these truly sustainable products cost competitive. How are we doing that is, as Aniket already mentioned, one way is to lightweight the product. So how can we achieve the functionality of sustainable packaging despite lightweighting it by increasing the temperatures, by increasing the pressure, and small innovations on the manufacturing process front of it. And of course, as you rightly mentioned, scale plays a big importance in the costing. So when we have the support of large brands, it helps us kind of manufacture at scale and thereby bring down cost. But if we were sitting here, say 10, 12 years back, and somebody said that the cost of solar power, both in terms of capex as well as the delivery cost, is going to be significantly cheaper than coal, no one would have believed us. But today the fact is that solar and wind is tremendously cheaper, both on the capex as well as on the cost of power. The same goes with EVs, and the same goes with so many other things. And I think not in 10 years, but probably just in a few years from now when we sit, we'll realize that sustainable packaging has become mainstream. not just because of compliance regulations or not just because consumers demand it, but because scale has enabled cost to come down to a level where it is favorable to use sustainable packaging.
So I would like to take a pause with Mr. Gandhi on this part. Now, you mentioned on the collaborative approach that the brands are in sync with this part. Yes. How openness is the brands? Because again, the brands, when we speak about, this is going to be an interesting discussion, Mr. Gandhi, with you for next 2 minutes. When we speak about the compliance part of it, there has been a compliance which has been in place specifically when we speak about replacement of the plastics to sustainable packaging. Recently, 15 days back, there has been a compliance fulfillment draft which is coming in for the sustainable packaging for paper, metal and glass also. Where the brands were in race, were looking at alternate of plastics to either paper, metal or glass part of it. Now there's a challenge over there as well. There's no escape route. A frequent change in the policy has been there. 9 amendments in plastics in last 2 years, which is a big challenge for the compliance. Certain misses, I'm going to be very vocal on that part. When it comes to regulatory aspect of it, a big challenge is that the segment of the clienteles which is dominated in the Indian manufacturing market, it's up to 60% when it comes to the small and micro organizations who have been supplying to the brands specifically some way or the other. A sudden change and exemption coming to that segment, how does this impact your forecast? And then to Sanjeet I would come, how you see when you invest in a project on that part of it, because the brand need to have a commitment for 5 years irrelevant of the regulatories. Yeah. Is that the commitment coming from brands to you?
Yeah, so I think by and large, brands, not just in India, but across the world, obviously, wanting to look for more sustainable packaging options. It's driven by regulation and consumer sentiment. But as you rightly said, having consistency in the regulation would truly help the industry take shape, right? So anything that we do requires investment, and investment obviously has a certain payback time. So you're right, if there is consistency in the regulation, it will truly help build up the industry. But I guess sustainability as a topic is still unknown to most people, right? What does it truly mean and how do you truly achieve sustainability? And I think that, how much ever we may hate change, change is the only constant. It remains a fact. And if the government is putting out EPR on metals, plastics, glass, paper, etc., I think overall the whole idea is to use materials responsibly, right? Because there's a lot of excess usage of materials as well. And technically, I'm shooting myself in the foot by saying there's a lot of excess material usage, but that's the fact. And if we are championing the cause of sustainability, then the best option for me is just be honest, right? That we can cut down on materials.
I can feel that. You taking a pause and saying, just being honest, I can definitely feel that part of it. A good comment, I would like to take that question to Sanjeet, because now when you see a financing part of it, you see 2 things. One is the books, and one is the order book. The forecast made by the producer or by sustainable packaging company for the next 5 years to ensure mera paisa or mera return aana chahiye. Now that's a big challenge when you see a regulatory aspect coming in. I was always of a comment whenever I go to the ministries that whether you make anyone a part of it, make the finance people a part of the committee. Because they are the people whom they listen to. Because there is a financial impact coming on the economy when you say an FII investment or the taxation part of it or the growth of the industry. How do you see this, and what do you would comment to the brand that what they should look at?
I think it's true that, as an entrepreneur, as a promoter of the companies, you have a stake in the project. Similarly, the banks who have funded the project, they have a stake in the industry as well. And typically, it happens that whenever these regulations change happen, the banks do make a say, and they do make some predictions to make sure that the drastic changes, even if it is how best the impact on the industry can be managed. And actually, that also, a lot of it falls on the industry association itself, because no government works in a vacuum. So, they will always have a consultation with the industry associations. And an industry like this, which is changing significantly. I mean, every year there is a lot of changes that is happening. It is very important for the industry associations to come together, brainstorm together, and maybe have a very effective liaising with the government authorities to make sure that whatever changes in the regulations happen, they are aligned. I mean, the industry thought process is aligned with what government is doing. And on this aspect, there is the other responsibility which as promoters of the companies you have to have is with the ESG kind of a mindset. It is no longer important just to have that you are complying with the existing regulations. That is not sufficient. I mean, when we do a rating from an ESG perspective, we are not just looking at that you are complying with existing regulations. Are you able to think beyond that? Think of what changes might happen 2 year, 3 year down the line, are able to build those practices right away itself. So when I'm advising corporates today while they're setting up the projects, we just don't talk about what you're complying today. These are the things which are likely to happen 2 year, 3 year down the line. Please build those things today itself so that you don't get surprised when these regulations change. And that is the premise of an ESG. So ESG is beyond compliance. So, the compliance you anyway have to comply to as of today. But are you able to think beyond it from your industry perspective, from a societal perspective, being a responsible corporate citizen, are you able to think on those lines and make sure that your project will not get affected by some of these compliance changes which might happen during the next 3 year, 5 year down the line. So whatever you say, there will always be some amount of risk. And that is the risk that as a corporate you have to live with, as a financing institutions, they have to live with it. And therefore to work along with the government agencies as well to make sure that any impact of like that is managed, mitigated to the extent possible.
I like this answer for coming from Sanjit. Why I'll tell you, I put a hard question to Sanjit because of the sole reason. I have to bring, only thing that I have got to know to this, bringing to this conferences is a building of trust in the market of sustainable packaging with no better than a financial person can do that. That's the reason I am putting across a hard question to Sanjit on that part. Coming to a very critical part of it, we have seen innovation, finance, we have seen the brand speaking about it. The most critical aspect who have been struggling and keeping it surviving in the last 8-year journey of sustainable packaging is the recycling sector. Coming to Mr. Goenka on that part of it, when we speak about sustainable packaging, Pashupati Group as such, I know it personally because we are engaged with them as well. And they have been really doing great when it comes to recycling innovations and offering to the brands, specifically to the cement industry, to the fertilizer industries, and with various product segments. There has been a lot of challenges in this journey. While we have been speaking a lot, the price factor on the recycling, first concept that comes into the brands, recycle hai, matlab sasta hona chahiye. I really have a great debate with all the players who are into recycling on that part. Second factor is coming when it comes to the compliance part of it. Third factor is where is the war between the petrochem companies as a virgin versus the sustainable packaging, giving a boost to you or a hit to you? That's the 3 questions that would I'd ask.
So I think I'll correct you there. I think there are no challenges when coming to incorporating sustainable material in the packaging. I think it's a myth and a misconception that incorporating sustainable material will only come with processing challenges and quality and consistency challenges. We address that, and there has been a huge amount invested by recyclers like us in this industry to get world's best technologies in India to process and collect waste, to sort waste, and to process that waste better with the highest quality that we can. I think the quality being made right now is in parallel with virgin or prime quality available in the market. When coming to virgin versus sustainability cost, I think there are many brands and brand owners absorbing that cost as it gives an advantage, competitive advantage. There's more accessibility by the consumer, and the regulatory factor also comes in place. I think they're working towards not the regulatory factors that are in place today, but that are supposed to come in the next year or the next 2 years. Coming to the competition side, I think we are also working with the petrochemical companies as well, in both international and domestic, and I think they're also they're also advocating for sustainable use in packaging as well.
So, in fact, that's a very interesting part which I know about Pashupati as well. They have done a different approach when it comes to recyclates. They have been tying up with the petrochem companies also who have been supplying across the virgin part of it, on the petrochem part of it, and they have been living a product jointly. And they are one of the companies, it's a proud moment for India as well, because Baruch and Sabik it's the first company in India who has actually tied up with an Indian company for recycling segment. And it's a unique venture that has happened. Now, that sustainability part, when it comes to the brands part of it, you have been having an engagement with it's not just the PET part of it, it's the films part of it, it's the cardboard part of it. I would say there are more than 19 to 20 items on the packaging would be required to deliver a product. It is a biggest challenge to a packaging development head to see a balance of the policy on the plastic part of it per se. If I say it's been implementation in 8 years, and then the challenge is upcoming part of it, where you were having a challenge on handling the one part of it, now you have another 4 challenges coming in. How, as a brand, do you see yourself on balancing this act? Or is that as a brand manager or a packaging development head, how you are able to cope up with this pace of changing policy?
I think I'll go otherwise. There's a policy, which is a good thing. And now that policy covers every material, that's a good change for us. So that also makes us think that somebody is sitting there at a policy policy side and thinking technically about all the packaging and products. So that's good for us. And when somebody from pharma sector said we are a very regulated industry, I was thinking that no, pharma is not. Liquor is a very regulated industry. We can't advertise, we can't manufacture what we want, we can't price. So we cover all the sides of policy, the central, the local, and everything else. And we also have local policies. Like in Haryana, we cannot manufacture in PET bottles, right? So these are policies very locally we have challenges on. In Maharashtra, there is a law that you can't make liquor, you can't pack liquor in recycled PET bottles. So we are also advocating to these policymakers in locally also and centrally also that how can sustainability be at the center of everything that we do. We are fortunate to have glass as a major part of our packaging mix. And we are very proud to say that today in our mass branch, we reuse almost 20% of our bottles. And we are not the highest doing that. Beer industry does 60 to 70% of reused bottles. And that's a North Star for us. We want to go there someday. We use 45% PCR in our glass bottles in form of cullets, all of our glass manufacturers. And we also look at how they are manufacturing the glass, what energy they're using. Are they using fossil fuels? Are they using something else? Are they using natural gas furnaces? And as per what energy they're using, we also give them some kind of relief in terms of cost or in terms of credits that we can offer them. So that is how we look at sustainability. And policies at some point of time, I think they keep evolving, which is good. And I think somebody is doing the changes that makes us happy about it.
That's a nice input coming in. I would like to take a question with Param on this one, while Aniket was speaking on that. But Param, one is the cost implication that comes into picture when we speak about the innovative products. On the other side, there's an icing on the cake for products that you have manufactured. Now, when you speak about the biodegradables, the EPR policy has a kind of a relaxation on the EPR compliances if you are using a biodegradable product and which has been certified by CPCB. This is an added value. Now, do you really have that added value being bought across by the brands that, okay, they are offering something to me, which is helping me to find a relaxation to the compliance part of it? Is that a mindset also on the brand that you see?
Yeah, I mean, some brands have that mindset that, you're reducing my workload of, excess EPR compliance and the cost thereof. And some brands are like, if this is the new normal, then the cost needs to be at parity with what they're buying right now. But as I think I said early on, for us, we want to ensure our products are cost competitive to our other competing products, right? Or competing materials, let's put it that way. Because the only time, it's a chicken and egg situation. How can we bring down cost? By enabling scale. And how do we enable scale? By ensuring that we're cost competitive. So I think we've taken the approach that we will sell to the market at a competitive cost and be the pioneers or be the market leaders in terms of ensuring that sustainable packaging becomes a new normal. I truly hope that after a few years we're sitting here with these products and your eyes aren't focused here because these become the normal products. And yeah, so I think while some brands do give, special benefits or credits, if you may want to call it, to products that don't have the same EPR compliance regulations, our view is that we want to make it cost competitive irrespective of those regulations or not. Because that's the only time we feel that there'll be real mass market adoption. Having said that, I think the leading brands, not just in India, but across the world, whether it's in pharma, or whether it's in food service, or whether it's in cosmetics or electronics, they've certainly taken the lead in enabling this, and it will be a top-down. When big brands start adopting this, it'll have a trickle down and, it'll become a market normal.
Yeah, that's an interesting input that you have given, Mr. Gandhi, on that part. That, of course, the compliance is one part of it, but the brand has an acceptance on the product asset per se. And that is where it's boosting for a product like yours to not to actually look at the convenience on the EPR compliance part of it, but give a value proposition to your clients. And which is an interesting factor of it. Now, honestly, if I am not a manufacturer, I am just a kind of sailing in the same boat with Sanjit is sailing, but he's on the finance part of it, I am on the compliance part of it. But what I could definitely look at, having a 360-degree approach over here from this panel, is that the acceptance level of the consumer is there. The brand should not hesitate to adopt the sustainable packaging. The openness is there from the brand side, and every brand has a different market segment. The moment you start classifying your customers into the adaptability part of it, it's a question where the management will not ask, will it be adopted by the market? But it would be more of what can we push in more? And that's where the game changing would start, and the performance of the Indian market would actually come into picture at a global perspective. This is very much important for the brand sitting on the other side of this dais, because the policy of the EPR or alternate to materials of the virgins is only come into place because India is not looking at making it a compliance or vigilant country, but it has seen that from 140 crore population, we are the largest waste generators. When we have not converted by giving a value to it, but now we have a task where we can bring in a value. Globally, 20 years has been spent. So any product that you are manufacturing and you are exporting, it's been demanded whether the packaging is sustainable or not. And if you are actually providing with a sustainable packaging, then you enjoy the premium of that particular, capturing the market and also giving us the profitability part of it. So the value proposition has completely changed on the brand. The perspective has to be changed on that part as well. The openness is what the industry is looking forward for. And with this, I'm not going to buy much time because I have been a lot of talkative on that part. I'm not sure whether it's been an add value, but yes, we can definitely evaluate one-to-one basis. But now I keep this session open for 3 questions from the audience. A lot of faces I see would be willing to ask, but if we can have 3 questions, it's more to welcome. Oh, I see a hand on the backside. Anyone with the mic, please? And I request audience to be more engaging. I know, you are the masters on that side. We are just a contributor to a portion of it. But always the panelists look forward for after the session to have a kind of a question which is giving a different perspective to the entire audience.
Hello, I am Enil. I am from Cipla. So I am representing a pharmaceutical sector. I would like to know from all expert team over here that on the compliance point of view, if I have to convert my, for example, I have to convert my plastic tray with the board tray or some other sustainable option, what is that scale of sustainability or what is that regulation I should comply with? Because that kind of policy or that kind of a regulation, when we search on the Google, there is no clarity on that. So if anybody can put some light on it, that would be really helpful.
Paran, would you like to throw a light on that? Yeah, so it is more to do on the compliance part of it, where if they are adopting from a plastic to a paper or cardboard part of it, what is the compliance benefit? It's just the packaging part of it. There are certain regulatory aspect other which is there, and what a brand as such per se should take care of it. Because I feel that's an open, very good question coming in. The openness is there, but the hindrance is the compliance.
Yeah, so again, he's the expert on the compliance side of it and can guide you more. But from what we understand, and again, I'm not an expert on the compliance side of it. If you want to export products to Europe or certain other developed countries, I think there are two things. There's the carbon border adjustment tax that will come in 27, 28, which will basically link up to what kind of energy you're using. And the other is, of course, on the plastic regulations that Europe is introducing. So if you switch to compostable solutions or completely recyclable solutions, then I think there are either that's an escape route to those regulations or those regulations are somewhere relaxed. And I think you can actually answer that.
Yeah, of course. No, I just wanted a feedback from the product side of it. See, ma'am, there's been a compliance. When we look at the compliance part, there are a lot of relaxations also when you see an alternate to plastic. But fortunately, unfortunately, the entire spectrum of packaging has now come under the purview of the compliance aspect. So, in fact, I would put across an alarming situation as well, that it is not just going to stick across to the packaging part of it. Going forward from 27, 28 onwards is going to involve all the production related to plastics or the papers or the metals. As a component also, the wastage has to be complied with. So that's a long journey that we are speaking about when it comes to the compliance. Sticking to that part of it when it comes to the alternate on the cardboard part, yes, there are compliances first on the alternate to packaging if you are using. Second is the quality aspect of it, if it's certified, and whether your product is not getting impacted with the packaging. And I'm sure that if it's a medical package, there would be norms which has to be complied with. And if it's a food, the FDA norms has to be complied with. For what I see on lying down, since your question was more to do with the cardboard packaging, this and secondary packaging which has been used right now. So there would be no harm on the secondary packaging as such coming in, but on the primary packaging, there might be an compliance fulfillment, which we have to check in. We can discuss that. Yes, the next question, please.
Hi, this is Vinay from Country Delight. So my question is a little specific to Fibromold. So if fiber-based materials are used for, let's say, noodles or any liquids for that matter, so there has been a lot of speculation that there is a layer which is put inside the material so that the water doesn't percolate, and that may be carcinogenic in nature, and it's not recyclable. So what is your say on that? That's one question. Second is, let's say water cups are made. If the quantities are higher, let's say it's used in a function or some event, so is there any provision for recycling the fiber-based cups? I mean, is there a provision for circular economy into it?
Yeah, so great question. With regards to the traditional paper cups, if you take an example, they were lined with a layer of PE or polyethylene, right? And that was a disaster in many ways because before it goes into the recycling stream, you have to segregate the PE and the paperboard layer, right? When it comes to such molded fiber products, we are not using any plastic material. There are two ways of achieving that. One is we add the additives in the mass or in the pulp itself. And the other is we can have a spray coating or something of water-based or aqua-based coats. Now, coming to your second question on the carcinogenic US and many countries within the Eurozone have already regulated PFAS-free products. Which is, I don't know the exact full form of PFAS, but PFAS-free products. That's what is the carcinogenic element in these AKD or these OGR chemicals that are used. We're already developing alternatives to OGR. Some of them have already been commercialized. And nothing that we do is, IP or anything. It's completely open source, so we can also have an offline chat as to what we're doing. But if you'd like to just Google something, you can Google something called as MFC. Is basically microfibrillated cellulose, which ensures that the binding of the fibers in the pulp that we're using is uniform, and the top surface or the surface that is in contact with the noodles, for example, is uniform, which makes applications of aqua-based coatings much easier, which is almost pinhole free, which gives very good WVTR and OTR properties. And whatever we do, as I said, is fully recyclable in existing recycling streams. So these same products can go back into paper mills or any kind of recycling facilities without needing to separate the coating or any layer or any additive that we use.
Great. With this, I am sure the audience is looking for the next session to come in. They are quite bored with us. And I'd like to bring an end to this session. Thank you for being a great audience, and thanks to the panelists for being a great insight giving to this industry. And we definitely look forward for an offline conversations after this session or during the lunch break. Thank you to the organizers for putting on a wonderful session.